In this video, we're going to take a look at the AutoCAD drawing environment or user interface. This interface appears once we have chosen to start or open a drawing from the Start page or tab that we saw in the last video. You'll notice that the interface is divided up into several distinct areas, and we're going to take a look at each one of them. At the very top of the screen is the application bar, also called the title bar. The application bar contains the names of the application, in this case AutoCAD 2016, and the name of the current active drawing, in this case Drawing 1. The application bar also contains a couple of menus, and one at the very far left is the application menu signified by the big red A. And you click on the little downward arrow to open it. At the left side of the menu are some basic commands such as open, save, save as, and when you click on them, their sub-options will open on the right. If you haven't clicked on any of the left menu items, the right side will display a history of drawings you've worked on so far. So initially you might not see anything here, but as the class progresses you will see this side fill up. At the bottom of the menu you'll see two buttons. The one on the left is Options, which will open the AutoCAD Options or Settings menu, and we'll take a look at that later on. And one on the right is Exit AutoCAD 2016, and this is one way you can shut down the application and exit it. Just to the right of the application menu is the Quick Access Toolbar, and this contains many of the same commands that we saw in the application menu: save, open, print, or plot, etc. But here they're put for quick access, just as the name suggests. So here in the default setting, you'll see icons for new, open, save, save as, redo, and undo. Again, similar to the application menu under the big red A. However, with the quick access toolbar, it is very easy to customize it. Just click on the little pull down arrow at the right end and you'll get a list that shows which commands are turned on. They have check marks next to them. And others listed you can choose to turn on if you want to. So, for instance, I can go to the Match Properties icon on the pull-down, click it, and now that icon and the command is accessible from the Quick Access Toolbar. If I don't want it there, I just uncheck the command in the pull-down, and it's gone. So that ability to change or customize portions of the user interface is very typical in AutoCAD, and we'll see examples of that as we move through many other menus and dialogues. The next area of the user interface we need to look at is the ribbon or ribbon menu. This stretches all across the top of the AutoCAD screen just below the application bar, and it's the main menu area for AutoCAD. The ribbon is made up of several different parts. At the very top are tabs, and there are many different tabs, each representing a different category or collection of commands and controls. And each tab is made up of several panels, as you can see here. If we click on a different tab, we are shown a different set of panels related to the subject on that tab. So the Annotation tab has commands for creating text and dimensions and other kind of annotation objects. Okay, let's go back to the Home tab, as this is where you'll be doing most of your work. The Home tab has panels for draw commands such as line, arc, etc., as well as a panel for modify commands to make changes to your drawing, and also panels for layer control, annotation, plus several more. And it's really a kind of summary collection of all the commands you'll find on all the other tabs. So looking at the draw panel, we see several commands, and we see an icon for line, polyline, circle, arc, and some smaller icons over on the right for hatch and rectangle. And you'll notice that some of them icons have little pull down arrows. So the circle command icon expands to show several different options on how to create a circle. We have a center radius option or a center diameter option and several others. The same is true if we take a look at the arc command icon. There are many different ways to create an arc object, and if we open up the little rectangle icon we can see options for a multi-sided polygon as well as a rectangle, and the same is true for the ellipse command and the hatch command. Also notice that at the bottom of each panel of commands is a title bar for that panel that also has a little pull down arrow, and clicking on those arrows will show more draw commands or more modify commands or whatever the category of that particular panel happens to be. You'll also see that if you hover over any of these commands icons for a second, a little information panel opens up about the command. And so if I hover over this trim icon for more than a second, a larger panel opens up with much more information. And this ability, or this function of showing information, will be true for all the panels and all the commands that you see here in the ribbon. And so just like on the Draw panel, the Modify panel has additional commands accessible from the pull down on the panel bar, and if you hover over it, you'll get information about the command. So just below the ribbon, and all those commands is the actual drawing window or AutoCAD drawing screen. And one of the things to notice first off is that your cursor changes when it enters the drawing screen. So when it's on the ribbon, it's the usual Windows little arrow, but when it's in the drawing screen, it's a crosshair with a little box in the middle, and that is the AutoCAD drawing cursor. And there are a couple different things we want to look at here. At the top of the drawing screen, we see a couple of tabs. One is labeled Drawing 1, and that's what we're looking at right now. You can have many drawings open, and you'll have tabs across here. We see the Start tab we can click on and go back to, which we saw before, but we're going to stick in the actual drawing environment here. And the other thing we're going to see is over on the right, we see a couple of graphical tools that are here. One is called the graphics, or one is called the view cube, and one is called the view bar. And most of the commands and functions that are available on these two items relate to three-dimensional drafting. Now, for this class, we're only doing two-dimensional drafting, but you should know that the AutoCAD drawing environment is fully three-dimensional. You can draw 3 dimensions here, and that's what the controls you would see on these icons or these tools would help you with. So we really don't need them. And if we go over to the far upper left, we see some other little commands and little brackets here. One is a little flat bar, and if we open that, notice that in that little pull down we see view cube and navigation bar clicked on. If we click those off, they'll disappear, and we'll just get a little more open real estate to draw in, and that can be helpful, especially when we're getting into kind of complex drawings. The other thing we'll see here is view controls, which again relate to three-dimensional drawing, so we really won't be accessing those probably in this class at all. And next to that is something called view styles. Again, we're just working in two-dimensional or 2D wireframes, so all of this other stuff you see has to do with how we work in 3D and shade our model and such. At the bottom of the screen is something very important called the command line, and yours may look a little different. Yours might be floating like this. What I've done here is I've docked mine so it stays put down at the bottom of the screen. And this is an important part of AutoCAD. This is where AutoCAD will talk to you and where you can talk to AutoCAD. We can enter commands directly into this by just using a couple letters. So almost all those commands you see that have icons up in the ribbon, those can be started by just typing in 1 or 2 letter commands, which we'll see when we get into a little bit of drawing in our next video, or the last video for this class. And getting used to looking at the command line is an important thing to do. The other thing at the bottom, finally, once we leave the drawing screen, below the drawing screen is something called the status bar. Status bar has some tabs over here on the left. Model, layout 1, layout 2. Every AutoCAD drawing has 1 model space and 1 paper space, but paper space can have multiple layouts in it. So you'll always see 1 model tab, but you may see many different layout tabs. And that's what you're seeing on a typical AutoCAD drawing that we opened up here. And over to the right side of that status bar, we see something called the drawing aids. These are the drawing aids. These are controls which we can use to apply to our drawing to help us draw accurately. And so we know what's going on our screen, and we can control what's going on our screen. And just like we saw with the quick access toolbar at the top, it's easy to customize this. Go over to those little flat horizontal bars there. It's often called the hamburger, that little icon. If you open that up, click on that and open it up, you'll see a whole list of different items that are checked on or not checked, so they're not visible. And again, because we're going to be working in just 2D, there are some things here that we really don't need to have on, and we can turn them off to keep our drawing aids bar a little simple. So let's see, if I go through this list, if I go up to the top here, I see that coordinates is good to have on, model space is good to have on, grid, snap mode, and for constraints I don't really need. Dynamic input's good. I don't need isometric drafting. Selection cycling is a good thing to have on. Let's see what that's like. Turn off here. Dynamic UCS, selection filtering, gizmo, that's all 3D. Annotated scales are good. Workspace switching, we won't use that too much. I'm going to turn that off. Annotation monitor, that's okay. Units, we don't access that all that often in the course of a drawing, so I'm just going to shut that off. And let's see, quick properties, okay. Lock UI, and all this stuff. Yeah, we can leave all the rest of that on. So once we're done with that, we notice that our drawing aids bar down here in the status bar is much smaller and much simpler to work with. And so we'll get into what all of those different settings mean and how they will help us control our drawing in our next video when we'll actually do some drawing. See you then.